We'd be a little late getting started because we have other people we didn't know were going to come, ex-crew members, and they have come, so it's so nice to see so many, and we've been trying to get them all set up. I'd just like to, on behalf of the Historical Society, thank all you people, the other people that have come to be here with us, and we're so pleased to have the crew members. I'm going to tell you a little story how this got about. Each year we have a tea at this time of year, and we generally dedicate it to one group. One year we dedicated to the Japanese people who are here. One year we dedicated to anybody that helped preserve the Moyie. And over the period of years we've had something. I was talking with Marvin Leverington here early in the spring, and he said, gee, it'd be nice if we could get the crew members back together. And through that conversation we thought, well, my gosh, this would be a great time to have this time we would honor the ex-crew members. So all the gentlemen are sitting around the table, and we are very fortunate to have our last captain's wife sitting at the head table here. And it's very nice to see all these crew members have come back to enjoy a day on the Moyie and reminisce about the early days on the boat. I think I'll have a big hand for all the crew members. They all have name cards on, and we've got printed on there the years they worked on the boat, so feel free to go up and ask them about some of the history of when they worked on the boat. We have a few other guests on board. I haven't seen them running around. Jim Hartley and his wife Millie are here, and Jim is the Chief of Planning for Parks Canada for the Western Division. Back here. Oh, here's Jim. Millie's over there, from Calgary. We have Wayne Crossan, and Wayne is the superintendent of Fort Langley, and he's also the area superintendent for the Southern Interior for Parks Canada, and the Moyie, when Parks Canada finally gets it all under their hands, will be under Wayne. Well, I saw Wayne earlier. Oh, here's Wayne over here. I didn't see Richard Stewart. Is Richard on yet?
I haven't seen him.
Okay, well, Richard's he was here a little earlier, and Richard is the chief historian and is doing the research on the boat from Calgary as well. We also are very fortunate we have Michael Cohen. I would talk with Michael, and Michael's family growing up around Nelson. You all know the Points and the Cohens around Nelson, but Michael didn't grow up there himself. But Michael has taken a real interest in the history of the boats, and he's done a lot of work in authoring and historian on the boats. Michael is set up at the head of the boat up here. He's got all his books with all the pictures and history of the boats. So feel free anybody to go down and go through Michael's books. And we want to thank Michael for coming out from Calgary and bringing all this literature for us to be able to enjoy. Thank you, Michael. And then we just arrived, Mr. Barley, who wrote the book on the West Kootenays. Mr. Barley, will you... right over here. There he is. It's nice to have you on board. And our MP has just arrived, Mr. Christensen. Nice to have you on board. And of course, I want to thank Ed Banning. You see him over there behind the cameras, who is recording all this for history of this trip visit with all you folks. So everybody have a good time. You'll be waited on as fast as we can. Mix and enjoy yourself. Thank you.
Oh.
Jack, can you get these guys to move in a little bit more, please?
Okay, I just push it right. Come on, you get over. Good argument.
Hey, Don.
Can you get them in here now, Dave?
Right there by the guy in the boat.
Okay.
Okay, I'm talking with Russ Fletcher from Nelson, ex-crew member of the Moyie. Russ, what's your earliest memory of the Moyie?
My oldest,
Your earliest memory. What year were you first on the Moyie?
in 1908. See, we just came to Nelson in 1908. My stepfather, he came from the same part of the States as we come from. That's how we come to get out here. My mother was a widow. My father had died, and he came back, and they made arrangements, and then mother moved out with us kids and brother and I, and they got married, and we've been there ever since.
Were there many boats on the lake at that time in 1908?
Oh yeah, there was the Kuskokook, was a passenger boat. There was the Nelson. There was the Caslow. There was a Kootenay and Moyie. They were all sternwheelers.
And did they all do the Caslow route? Did they all come to Caslow, or?
Not all of them. They had different runs, you know.
Uh-huh.
Then there was the American boats. Before that, there was the International. That was an American boat. They used to run to Bowness Ferry, right up the Kootenay, or down, up the Kootenay. Yeah. And there was the Argenta, and there was the Slocan, and the Caslow, and International. Those are American boats.
Who owned the boats? Who owned the Moyie?
And the CPR had just taken over the Columbia and Kootenay Navigation Company in '98, you see. And they took over all these boats, not the American boats, but the ones that belonged to like the Kootenay and the Moyie and the old Nelson. They were built by that time, but the Kuskokook wasn't built till 1905.
So I guess there wasn't any other way to travel in this area except by boat?
No, just by rail or by boat.
Uh-huh. So a lot of people use the boats.
Well, they had
Going
to.
back and forth.
Anybody along the West Arm or along the main lake all went to boats.
Did you work on the Moyie? You worked on the Moyie.
Yeah, I was an express messenger, yeah.
What was that job? What did that job entail?
Pardon?
What did that job entail? What was that?
Looking after the express, like a shipment of fruit and small parcels and the baggage and the mail and the company mail. And the remittance, all the remittance money from the different places like... hi there.
Hello, Russ.
Hi there. How's Pinky? That's his
So,
wife.
how old would you have been when you started working on the boat, on the
I
Moyie?
was, let's see now, I was 18.
And how much would you have been paid for that
I
job?
got $45 a month, and I slept up next to the captain in the stateroom there, and I ate it at the table upstairs. And we ordered our whatever we wanted. I had a bill of fare just like they had for the passengers, and we ordered off that every day, and it was really fine food.
Uh-huh. Did you wear a uniform? Did you?
No.
Who would wear a uniform on the ship?
No, the express messengers never wore a uniform.
But the captain and what other
Captain,
members?
engineers, and the purser, and the steward, and the freight clerk, and the mates, and all of them, they wore uniforms.
Was it a large crew? Would there have been?
Well, it depended on how much freight they had. Well, in 1916, the mines started up like the Bluebell and Ainsworth and the Slocan. There was an awful lot of freight. Well, they had sometimes had about 10 stevedores, or deckhands they call them. There would be one stevedore. He manages that crew. He looks after that crew. And they moved all the freight. There was lumber, there was grain, there was baled hay, there was horses, there was meat, there was all kind of things like that was come to these different towns. But I didn't have that, look after that. I just looked after my mail sacks and the small parcels and baggage and that suitcases and like that.
What was it like to work on these ships?
Oh, it was to me it was quite fascinating because I was just a kid. I used to spend most of my time down on the lower deck with these here deckhands because they were young fellas. These old guys don't want young kids around, you know. And not even today. They don't want kids around. Fellas get old and cranky. Did I know?
So was it considered a good job to have to be working?
Pardon?
Was it considered a good job to have to be working on the boats?
Well, it was then. You could work up to something pretty steady. There was lots of fellows, well, just like Sam here. He started, I suppose, on as a deckhand and he became a skipper. Take Sam there, you know, that big fella. He was a skipper on this boat, and he probably worked up from a deckhand. And when this boat was cancelled out, he went over on the Okanagan, and he served right out till he superannuated. I can remember when he was quite a young fella. I knew his parents. They used to live at Sunshine Bay, you know, where just below Proctor on the Sunshine Bay.
Where did most of the crew live? Would they?
Well, a lot of them were transit. Some fellas just coming through. They needed a job and they had to eat, and they went to work. And some of them would stay for 2 or 3 years. Others would just get the first check and then they beat it. There was always a job down there. Yeah.
Did the boats ever run into any trouble on the lake with bad weather or anything like
Oh,
that?
yeah. I was on this boat one time going to Lardo. This was in 1916, and I come down the companionway there, and I went to go into on the lower deck, and it was pitch dark, and the wind was blowing, and the waves were big, and the waves come right over the deck, went right in through the wide door and into the stoke hole. You wouldn't believe that, but I bet you them waves were 7, 8 foot high. Yeah. And once in a while a boat would get grounded and another one had to pull it off. Another one would run into another boat trying to make a mid-lake transfer, like the Kuskook and the Nisukan trying to get their passengers from this, especially if the Caslow boat was a little late, and the Nelson boat, the Nisukan would be right a little bit early, and they'd passed up Proctor, and they'd meet in the middle of the lake. I remember one time the Nisukan ran right into the Kuskook broadside and cut through a square timber boat like that on the gunwale. He was sure to beat the band. I was on the boat that time. Yeah.
Are there any particular experiences you remember about the Moyie? Any trouble the Moyie had, or?
Oh, I don't know, but she's had her troubles, I suppose. Bill Kern could tell you more about that because his dad was at the shipyard, and that's why he used to patch him up. Yeah. And I can remember one time I was going to go hunting at Midge Creek, and I had a permit to have us put us off there to hunt. There was no railroad on the east side of the lake, the west side of the lake then. So the wind was blowing like the dickens, and they had to put the mail sack off at Boswell, and it was blowing so hard they broke 2 of those great big ropes. And then they put out a cable, and they eventually got the mail bag off. But then there wasn't a passenger on there. But I bet the waves were 7, 8 feet high that day.
What was it like for passengers to travel on these boats?
Oh, they thought it was swell, especially people from the prairie. When they toot the whistle to make a landing, like everybody went out to see what was going on. Yeah.
What about dining on the boats? I heard that was very
it was the best fare there was in British Columbia. That is, they had the best meals, and it was cheap. 75 cents for about a 5 or 6 course meal. You'd start in with a fish starter, and you would order your staple meal. You would probably order lamb cutlets, breaded lamb cutlets with green peas, cream mashed potatoes, and some vegetable, and you'd have a side dish of some kind, and then you would have your dessert, and you would probably have ice cream and cream puffs, and then they passed around the finger bowl for you. This was for 75 cents.
My goodness. Do people stay in the cabins overnight?
Well, if it was good weather, lots of them went outside because a lot of them were from different parts of the country, like, and they were looking at the mountain. And it was so pretty, especially when the little snow on top,
Right.
you know, they kind of set her off in the background. But if it was bad weather, they didn't go out.
Right.
And at one time, in the early days, they used to even have a bar on here, on the boats, just across on the opposite side from where the purser was. You could have your drinks there. Some of the guys would get kind of corned up, I guess. I don't know. I didn't drink, so.
How many people did you usually carry, Russ?
Oh, it would vary. It would vary quite a lot in the seasons, you know. But the 24th of May, they always have an excursion up here. This was the great day at Caslow. And on the 1st of July, they used to have it at Nelson. The boats would make 2 trips with passengers to get them up and take them back. People that would pull out about noon to come up, they just got the ride. The other ones would be up early in the morning. They'd take part in the sports, and they'd have lacrosse games and baseball and things of that sort, probably rock drilling. It was great times. Yeah, it was great times.
Can you describe what it was like when the boat would make a landing here in the early days?
Well, there was no wharfs in an awful lot of places, and it wasn't until, say around the time of the First World War that they put wharves in. Before that, somebody would have a little bit of a float, maybe 10, 15 feet square, and the boat would nose in on the beach, you see, and put off what it was, probably a sack of grain for they were all stump ranchers. They were cleaning ground up. Box of powder, not powder because they weren't allowed to carry that, but they would put off their freight there and run the gangplank down. Yeah. But they serviced the people pretty good. I could name out all the landings on the West Arm, you know, right from Nelson. Like, they were all nailed off with miles, you know. 5 mile, 6 mile, 9 mile, 15 mile, Harrop, Sunshine Bay, and Fraser's Landing, and Oxford, and Balfour, and all them places.
I guess it'd be a lot of excitement when the boat would come in, eh?
Oh, in the evening, when the crow boat would come in, it was a great place to go down, and she would toot her whistle just about up at the park, and they would switch on the lights, and she looked like a great big castle, you know, and they would come down. There was lots of time, be 50, 100 people in the summertime down there just to see who got off. And all the cabs would be down there, you know, horse-drawn ones, and then after it became the cars and things of that sort, and there would be different hotels would have a boy down there, somebody calling off their hotel, you know, like a Hume, that was Hume, and there was old Zig, he was a darky, and he had been sold in the Civil War on a slave, and he was up in this country. His name was Ziegler, and as near as I can get it, but he would always be there, and he always had the same song. Hume Hotel, they sung it out so nice in Southern language, you know. Yeah.
Why do you think the Moyie survived?
Well,
And all the other boats.
the thing was, she had steel ribs. These are T-irons, and they're built, and the planking was bolted to her. So she stood there over the years where these ones that were wooden frames that were laminated to make the curve of the bilge under the bottom. They laminated together like that. The moisture got in there and they rotted. And I don't suppose they had the same preservatives as they have today. You know, and so they were all drifted together. They would be about that wide, and there would be about 3 different layers of planks in there, and then they were bandsawed out, you see. So this boat, they would take off a plank and bolt on another one. And then another thing, she had boilerplate on her back to, not quite to midship. They used to break ice with her. They put a barge on in front. And the barge would run up on the ice, and the weight would break it down. And then, as it went through under there and around the boat, it got all broke up in little chunks.
Right.
And it was pretty hard on the paddle wheels.
Yeah, I bet.
Like I remember one time there was a cold winter. I can't tell you the year, but they had a channel through the ice down to Nelson. Well, during the night, the wind changed and blew all this float ice into the channel, and when they had a turnaround there, when it filled that up, and the boat, the Nisukan couldn't turn around. But they thought maybe by backing up, they could back up and get to where the channel was clear. Well, by the time they got about to the city park there, they didn't have no buckets on the paddle wheel. So they were just stuck there until they had to put on new buckets, and they eventually got out of there. But it's happened like that way a couple times. Yeah. I remember the Kuskokook getting froze in there about where the public works is, and she was stuck there for several days, and they had to haul coal out to her until they got her going again. To keep up steam, you couldn't let the steam go down. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, Russ. It's been a pleasure talking with you.
Oh, well, lots of guys come and talk to me. Whether all of these are right to the minute, maybe somebody would disagree with them, but it's pretty near right.
Oh, thanks very much, Russ.
Okay, that was great. Okay. Okay, I'm talking to Sam Podmoroff, a former captain of the sternwheelers on Kootenay Lake. So, Sam, when was it you worked on the sternwheelers? You worked on the Moyie, is that right?
Yes, I started about, if I can remember right, either 40 or 41 in them years. It's been quite some time ago since I can hardly remember the dates. So.
What did you start out? What was your job when you started out working?
I first started out as a fireman, but I couldn't fire very good. And the first night I was on, all the lights went blue. So the mate came down to the wheelhouse and said to me, he says, "What's the matter, Scotty?" He says, "We're not moving." I says, "Well," he says, "we got no steam." So then I changed from fireman to a deckhand. And we worked pretty hard. From there, as a deckhand, when I turned the age of 21, I got my mate's ticket. Then I went as relieving mate. Then later in the years, as my time came up, I went from a master's ticket. So I went as a master in July in 1948. So from there on, I was always relieving master. And I worked the Kootenay Lake, the Slocan, and the Arrow Lakes. And once in a while, they used to send me over the Okanagan Lake on the barges. So I just kept moving around like that for I don't know how many years, but it's been quite a few years.
What was it like to work on these boats at that time?
It was all hard work. It was all hard work.
Was it?
Yes, real hard work. It was all labor. There wasn't nothing, it was all handwork. Heavy work too. The mines were operating and all that steel had to be moved. And the ore had to be moved. So we just worked.
Were you still dealing with passengers quite a bit?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
We used to make one passenger trip on a Saturday. And then we used to have a Wednesday trip to a few passengers in cars. The automobiles, we had no roads.
As captain, did you have quite a large crew under you? How many would there have been in the crew?
See, 3, 4. No, I couldn't remember. Now there was 3, 4, 5. Can I
Roughly, would there have been
be about 7?
about 7? Uh-huh.
Yes,
Uh-huh.
as far as I can think. Yeah, you got out, you went down, the first ball you hit, you knew you were in the channel.
Right.
From there on, you were right on, eh? All the way down. Once in a while, you had a sandbar go up, but you always come off it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you had no problems. But
Uh-huh.
coming up, we used to come up about 11, 12 o'clock at night.
At night, no lights.
No lights, no nothing, and
Well, we tend not.
if it happened to rain, hit fog, you just use that whistle. Open the windows and use that whistle. You navigated with the echo
Echo off the mountains.
Is
off the
that
mountains,
right?
and then
My goodness.
as the fog, the moisture, you can smell the trees if you're too close. You know, there's a scent off the trees, so you knew where you were. You never got lost.
How about in high water the time, Sam, when in 49 we were coming up through the Narrows in the Burton on the SS Minto, and the high water was so hot, fast and high, and we were full speed ahead, and the boat was going backwards. Were you captain at that time, or was it Matt?
No, it was me.
I thought.
We had.
And they pushed us onto the onto that sandbar there just below Burton.
No, they couldn't be me, because one time I came up that river, and the upper lake was rising fast in the lower lake,
Yeah.
and the elevation was about 2 feet high in the channel, eh? Just below Burton there, which is a channel, and we had a team of horses on the port side, and going around the caribou cut there, or the bluff, and she went back up.
Oh yeah.
Then I had to back down and get back in the back eddy and go across Caribou Creek in order to get up there. And then we were only climbing slow, but we stood there for a long time. We didn't move at all. With the paddle wheel picking the water down, and it's building fast down below. It was giving a little bit of a rise until half an hour or an hour or so that the water we pulled down with the paddle wheel, and then she started to climb inch by inch, and we got into her. She was a tough cookie. You know, I knew what the heck you were doing, but you know, we thought nothing of it, and we were born with it.
Yeah, great.
And the winter time, you used to go down there, you make figure S's. You never went ahead. You always went slow astern in order to steer around the corners. But there's just enough current there to keep going ahead, but so you can steer, eh?
Right. Would you go right throughout the winter?
We went through winters, yes.
Yeah.
How about backing up to break ice, Sam?
Once in a while you fly out of the wheelhouse when the ice chunks hit you. You come clear out of the window because the kicks are so bad.
Were you one that when she broke the
Wind has.
I say, were you one that when she broke the shaft on the paddle wheel?
Yes, I was on the day she broke
that one.
I remember, well, yeah. I was on there as a mate at the time. Eh? The shaft went down and we went down, the wind was blowing, and we had 1,200 feet of cable, and the anchor went out, and the anchor never hit bottom. And that's how fast the wind was blowing. So we lower the lifeboats. We put one up. And as soon as we got up in the davits, and as she rolled so hard, one boat just flew off. We never saw it again. Oh yes, that was.
Was that on the Moyie, or
Yeah, on
that
this one, you're just down below Shoulder Creek.
is that right?
So we got all, we blew the boilers down, put everything away, and we all took off in the lifeboats, went ashore. No, we didn't. Some went ashore in the lifeboats, but Norm and myself, I think it was Foot that was the engineer. We stayed, and she just missed the rocks and beached herself in a nice sandy beach. Just made it. You couldn't land her in that little spot if you tried hard. And if she'd hit the rocks, she'd been gone. There'd been no Moyie today. That was for sure. But she just missed her, eh?
I said, I put you back down, put you on the boat that time.
Well, to be easy to promote around here, it's just getting people from far.
You gotta think who this is, don't you?
I don't know why they don't build a replica.
No, we were on this thing, eh?
Yeah, he left it though for a little.
Did I leave it?
we could get CP hotels or something.
But you followed me right up there, and then I went down and picked it. I took you down here before I paid. Sutton Road. You landed in there, everybody.
Just a floating hotel.
Yeah, I think we aboard the thing. We put a line on it. I went down with a ham and a coffee, eh? I remember going down the ladder with the ham and the coffee. We ain't gonna go hungry. Don't go away. We're always gonna have food and coffee. Oh yeah.
But you were able to save the boat after that.
Oh
It
yes.
was okay.
Yeah, the ants came and picked us up and took us ashore. We went up to town to Nelson, picked up the Grand Hall. We kept the service up at the town until this one was repaired. Got the new shaft, and she went back to service when she was repaired.
Right.
Oh yeah, we saved the boat.
What kind of work did the Moyie do then?
The Moyie, I would say, would be about the hardest worked vessel because we always carried a barge. Not always, but she did the barge work, and that's hard on a wooden hull and a wooden boat like the sternwheelers. They weren't. I would say they weren't meant to be poking the barges around. It was. She did a lot of hard work. You know, when you're in the storm with this thing, she just hits hard against the barge and everything just shakes violently all the way through.
Yeah, yeah,
So, no, she took an awful beat,
yeah,
but she did a lot of work.
yeah,
She did a lot of work for the Kootenay.
yeah, yeah. Did you ever run into any real serious trouble with the boat in storms or anything like that?
We were on the ferry run one time and all the guy lines busted, eh? We were in a heavy storm with the Greyhound bus on the bow end. And one time we were going across Queens Bay and the smokestack came off the top, eh? That's about the only time that I can recall that really serious trouble. But we have these little odds and ends when we do that all the time.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
any vessel.
What was the hardest part about being captain on a ship like this? Was it a...
Oh, there's no really hard problems. The only thing you had to watch your winds. You had to be careful on your landings, but you were pretty well trained for that all the years that you have put in. We had to put in 36 months as deckhands before we come to be a mate. We had lots of experience before we come to be a mate. And then when you're a mate, you had to put another 12 months in before you be a master. That's running time.
So it was like an apprenticeship you were doing?
Yes. And we were all pretty well up to it
Yeah.
before we came to being captains.
Did most of the crew switch around jobs like that? They got experience of most kinds of jobs on the boat?
No, just as the seniority comes in. Supposing one's senior, the other one may have to stay, and the other one has to move because he's senior, eh?
Oh yeah.
So wherever your seniority is, that's where you went.
Right.
You were at that time we were in the Union, but the Union came in 1942, I think it was. And before then we had nothing.
Right.
We worked 7 days a week, and we never had a holiday or a Sunday or 2 weeks vacation or anything of the sort.
Did it pay well or didn't? No, I bet.
No, I'm not. I don't want to say
No.
wages.
Hey, Captain, can I cut in there just?
Yeah, you bet.
Good to see you after 30 years. You know, it's 30 years for
Oh,
us,
that's
eh?
a long
Yeah.
time.
Oh boy,
It
we'll
was,
keep in touch, eh?
it was,
And I'll send you some pictures.
please.
Okay, take care. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
I
Yeah,
think this is a great day for all of us.
yeah, yeah,
We met each other.
yeah. Quite a reunion, eh?
What a reunion.
Yeah, yeah,
And to have it here, you know, is something else again.
exactly. It means a lot, eh?
Oh, it means a lot.
Yeah,
You know, it brings back the old memories that come back.
yeah,
You know, when you look at yourself way back, you know, the big overalls, and as dirty as it was in the coal cars, why, it was hard work.
yeah, right.
You know, today I don't think that people ever do it.
I know, yeah.
They never stand up to it.
Yeah, yeah.
They
But
won't-
good memories, eh?
Yeah, There's lots I can tell you about. It's a long ways away. I got to sit down for a long time. Sometime when I'm on the ferries, I sit in the wheels by myself and I think back. Lots of it comes back.
Yeah, yeah,
Then you forget again.
yeah, yeah. Right.
Someday I'll figure maybe I might read a book. I don't know.
You could, you bet. You'll have the memories for it, yeah.
But working all these lakes, it was enjoyable, put it that way. And you know all these lakes, you know the score on them, you know where the wind's going to blow and what fog you're going to get, which one will fog up in end of August and so on. Some don't have no fog at all in
Right.
years. And we had nothing, no radar, no nothing. We just navigated by the whistle. And
Yeah.
there's another way of navigating the vessel too. If you're caught like middle of the night or something, you can always slow down or just kick around till the early morning. And the first thing you know, the first thing will be up will be the bird.
Yeah.
He'll start to chirp. So you know you're getting close to land.
That's great. Thanks very much, Sam. I better let you go. That was a pleasure. Okay, I'm talking to Clay and Tony Taylor, brothers, ex-crew members of the Moyie. Can you tell me what jobs you did on the Moyie?
I was a fireman
You were fireman.
back in about 1941, 42.
And you, Tony, what
Well, I
was
was started off as a deckhand.
it? At the same time, you both worked there?
No, I didn't start till 52, 53 actually.
Oh, yeah. What did the fireman's job entail?
Loading in about 8 tons of coal into the stoke hole down below and keeping the pressure at about 160 pounds.
Hard work, eh?
Lots of hard work. Lots of elbow grease.
Were there many firemen employed at the same time? Like, would there be many on the crew?
Be two firemen on the crew with 4-hour rotating shifts when I was on.
Right, yeah.
And the skipper when I was on was Crackerjack McLeod.
So you had to keep it going the whole time?
Oh,
down
yes.
there, yeah?
24 hours a day.
Yeah. What was it like to work on the Moyie?
Wonderful.
Was it?
So I've seen Caslo every hour of the day, 24 hours around the clock. Just beautiful.
Yeah,
Never dull.
Tony, somebody said to me that it was like being in a part of a family, being on the crew of a sternwheeler like the Moyie.
Yes, that's very true. I think not so much on this particular vessel, but on other sternwheelers I've been on, especially on narrow lakes, the crew did stick together, even on off hours, entertainment and otherwise.
What was your job? What did your job entail on the Moyie?
Well, I was generally a deckhand and handling freight, fueling the vessel. We used to coal the boat up with wheelbarrows, two-wheel wheelbarrows. We had a lot of, on Saturdays we had passengers. We also handled the barge during the week, the railway barge, from Proctor right up to Lardo, with stops at Caslo.
Yeah, it wasn't a very large crew on these boats, was it? So it must have been a lot of work involved keeping them going, especially in the winter time.
Well, we had an 8-man crew generally, and we also had a cook, of course. It was one of the most important persons on board. He kept the crew happy. Every boat operated very smoothly.
Was the food generally good on the boats?
Yeah, it's very good, especially on the in my time in later years on the Minto on the Air Lakes. That's when it was actually quite good, very good over there because of the being as they had meals for the passengers. So we got top-notch meals, whereas here we had to pay for our own meals, and the cook just cooked for the crew. So naturally you try to keep the cost down.
And a pot roast like you never tasted in your life. Nobody could beat Kenny McDonald on his pot roast. Really.
Would you stay on the boats overnight? Would you sleep on board? So what were the living conditions like?
Beautiful. I was the only fireman ever allowed on the top cabin. So I lived like a king. For a young teenager, wasn't bad.
So working conditions were generally pretty good.
Hard work.
Hard work.
Hard work.
Yeah.
I can't quite remember what the pay was, but it wasn't anything outstanding, but it was better than working for nothing.
Yeah, yeah. Do you have any outstanding memories about working on the Moyie in terms of any difficulties the boat might have run into, or anything special that might have happened?
Oh, there were so many little things. No, nothing major really happened when I was on. Other than the odd piling that got creamed, as you used to call it, or some minor malfunction of machinery that caused it 9 times out of 10. But nothing very major. There's things happened before I was on it. I imagine Captain Podmoroff probably mentioned to you about the main shaft breaking on the paddle wheel. He was on then, of course. But nothing of that serious nature anyway.
Well, one morning we came out of Proctor, and the wind was blowing so hard from the north. A beautiful sunny day, but early in the morning, about 5 or 6 o'clock, as I recall. And we went down towards Irwin Creek to get the boat twisted around with the barge, so we would miss Queen Bay Point. And the 2 doors that are on the front of the ship were just knocked off with the big waves. And I was standing in the firing in the stokehole. You could just see 2 big waves go right by. Of course, they were washed off on each side. But that's the only instance where I really felt and wondered what shipping was all about.
Because the storms couldn't get quite bad on these lakes. Eh?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Were they still carrying many passengers up into the 50s? And
I think, in all fairness, probably the heaviest day it had was in the last week it ran. That is in latter years. But on occasion, during the summer, we would have quite a few people come on, clubs and what have you, making the trip. But unfortunately, it was forced to retire a little bit early. If it could have lasted about another 10 years, it probably would have come into its own again as far as carrying passengers.
That's right.
As a tourist engine.
Yeah. So would you say you both have good memories of your time working on the
Wonderful.
boats?
Very much so.
Wonderful.
Great place to start.
Yeah.
I bet. Well, thank you very much. That's great.